Hello. Today we're going to be talking about the solar activity in your TOEFL book, and this is on page 34. Okay, quick fact. The sun, the earth, when the light starts from the sun and it hits the earth, how long do you think that takes? Does it take 8 minutes? Does it take 80 minutes? Does it take 8 years? Or does it take 80 years? We got 8 minutes, 80 minutes, 8 years, or 80 years. Well, the correct answer is 8 years. And that's because the distance from the sun is 92 million miles away. So even at the speed of light, it takes 8 years for the sun, for the light, to hit the earth from the sun. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue with our reading passage today. It's about solar activity. So for these type of questions, these are your vocabulary, reference, and negative factual information. Well, for the vocabulary and the reference, we can go right into the question and kind of skip a lot of the reading part. So the first question is about imbalance, and it says the word imbalance in the passage is closest in meaning to A, power, B, rotation, C, uncertainty, and D, inequality. Okay, so let's take a look at this word. We got imbalance. It is this rising imbalance in its negative field that gives the sun its first form of weather. As the magnetic field of the sun gets twisted, it gets focused on one part of the sun's surface. Okay, so I'm going to highlight this. Gets focused on one part, because that's basically giving us some clues about this word imbalance, resulting in an area where the magnetic field is much stronger than on the rest of the sun. The magnetic field is much stronger than on the rest of the sun. Again, it is telling us about imbalance. So if you notice, in imbalance, it has this word I am. So anytime you have like I am plus the word, that's going to mean it's the opposite. So it means basically the opposite of balance. So when I think of balance, I think about the word like even, or I'm thinking about the word equal. And so when they say that it gets focused on one part, that's showing that it's uneven, and the negative field is much stronger than on the rest of the sun. Again, that's showing something that's unequal. So if I look at my answer choices, I got A, power, B, rotation, C, uncertainty, D, inequality, and I know that, okay, the correct answer is going to be D. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. The second question has to do with the word sunspots. So the question says, how does the sun's magnetic field create sunspots? So how? So they want some kind of explanation. So if we look at this word in the sentence, because they are cooler than the rest of the sun, these sunspots appear to be darker. Okay, so they don't tell us how the magnetic field affects the sun. So what we need to do is look for the word magnetic field. So search, 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 and here it is. There's magnetic field. And now that I found this word, now I'm going to read the sentence closely. This incredibly strong magnetic field prevents heat from rising up from the center of the sun to this area of the surface. The result is an area of the sun's surface which is cooler than the rest of the surface. Because they are cooler, they create sunspots. Okay, so basically we have some keywords. Prevents the heat from rising from the center, and this makes it cooler. This makes those spots cooler. And so now let's look at our answer choices. It says A, it limits the light emitted by the sun. So A is, it limits the light emitted by the sun. No, that's not correct. B, it focuses on the sun's charged particles in one area. Charged particles, one area, didn't say anything about that. That's not correct. C, it prevents the internal heat of the sun from rising. That's going to be correct. So, where we have prevents heat from rising up from the center, that's the same as prevents the internal heat. So internal means something from the inside or in here, from the center, and internal, they mean the same thing. So let's look at question 3. Question 3 is about this word adequately. So we have the word adequately in the passage is closest in meaning to A, sufficiently, B, scientifically, C, easily, and then D, productivity. Okay, so in a sentence, although no one has been able to adequately explain, so I'm going to try to substitute my choices. So I could think of A, unable to sufficiently explain. B, unable to scientifically explain. Those two make sense. C, unable to easily explain. That also makes sense. D, unable to productively explain. Productively doesn't make sense. So when we think about productively, we use it to do something. So what I mean by that is maybe at the library you can productively study, or if people are outside doing some construction, they can productively build something. So they're actually kind of doing something. But to say you productively talk, it doesn't really make sense. So if with D, I'm going to eliminate that because that doesn't fit really well for this sentence. So then I'm left with A, B, and C. Sufficiently explain, scientifically explain, that makes sense. It's about the sun. Sufficiently, yeah, that also makes sense. In this sentence, there's really not very many clue words that's going to help with this. So in this situation, if I had to eliminate one more, I would eliminate C. C. C is easily. And I would say that they have a good idea, right? They have a good idea as far as why the sunspots occur. This is something that they've known for almost 100 years now. So easily, it doesn't really fit also. Actually, in this situation, because there aren't very many clue words within the passage, in here you just have to know the word. So adequately means the same as sufficiently. So in this situation, the correct choice is going to be A. A is the correct choice. Adequately means sufficiently. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to number 4. Number 4 is a reference question. So it says, eventually the magnetic field around a sunspot will become so twisted that it will snap. So what will snap? A, the sunspot, B, magnetic field, C, energy, and then D, radiation. Well, we can see the word magnetic field here. So the magnetic field becomes twisted and it will snap. So the correct answer for number 4 is going to be B. Okay, so then we're left with number 5. Number 5 is a factual, negative, factual information question. So it says all of the following are true of solar flares except. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is look for solar flares. And here's that word here. And so I'm going to do a process of elimination. So first, I'll read the sentence. The result is a jump in high temperature called a solar flare. Okay, so now I'm going to see if they talked about anything that was related to jump in high temperature in my answer choices. Okay, so if you look at B, B talks about jump in high temperature. So they did talk about that, so I can eliminate B. So then I still have A, I got C, and then I got D. Okay, so then I'll read the next sentence. In as little as 10 seconds, the temperature will rise as much as 20 degrees up from about 1 million. Okay, so that's a detailed sentence from the previous sentence. Solar flares also release huge amounts of radiation, primarily in the form of X-rays, into space. Okay, so they talked about radiation, X-rays. So now I'm gonna check my answer choices to see if I can eliminate one more. Okay, so if you look at D, they release large amounts of X-ray into space. So I will eliminate D. That leaves me with two choices, A and C. When this radiation reaches the Earth, it can damage satellites and affect weather patterns. Alright, so time to go to my answer choices. A says they are in the final result of imbalances in the sun's magnetic field. C, they have little effect on the Earth because of their distance. Okay, so if I look at this, it says when this radiation reaches the Earth, it can damage satellites and affect weather patterns. So here it's showing that there's a big effect. Not a little effect, but it shows a big effect. So in our question number 5, they want to know if it's true, they want us to eliminate it. So for example, B, that was true. D, that was true. C, this is not true. So this is actually the answer that we want. And so if we wanted to verify A, if we wanted to see if this is true, it says they are the final result of the imbalances in the sun's magnetic field. Okay, so the solar flare is the final result of sun's imbalance in sun's. So let's look at the beginning. Eventually, the magnetic field around the sun will become so twisted that it will snap. All the energy that has been stored in the twists of the magnetic field will be released in 1 minute. The result is a solar flare. That's true. So basically, when we have this word eventually, that sort of means the same as the final result. So the final result, and then we have imbalances in the sun's magnetic field. So when something is twisted, that's showing imbalance. And here's the solar flare. So A is true, so we can eliminate that. To learn more about imbalance, we could actually even go to the previous, where they talked about sunspots. And in the previous paragraph, we learned about sunspots. And we learned that it's an imbalance of the magnetic field, and that imbalance in the magnetic field eventually causes a solar flare. So first, you have this imbalance, then it causes a sunspot, and then the sunspots become a solar flare. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. If you want to learn some of these words, you can go to this website. So I have this link. It's a Quizlet link, and it's got the words for this unit, which was about the sun's activity, the sun activity. So we have words like adequate, charge, analogy, particle, rotate, scientific, and distort. And you can sort of use this to practice your vocabulary. Okay, that's it for now. See you next time. Bye.